James is in. All right. Artie is in. All right, you guys are the best. Thanks for being so patient with this my crazy technical difficulties. And for those of you just joining, major shout out to Amanda and Kelly and James from the Met PGA for dealing with my nonsense. Thank you all for your patience. Okay. Is that better? Amanda, I think that's what you were saying, right? Now we'll go vertical. That's cool. It actually gets some better visuals anyway. All right. So I think, just because I took forever to get this going, we're going to wait just a couple more minutes. If you don't mind, thank you. Just so that if anyone was joining, now they have a chance to. I'm guessing some people may have stepped it away or head to the bathroom while I was taking 15 or so minutes to get going here. But how are all you guys? It's good to see you. We got James, Artie, Amanda, JP, Kelly. Got some awesome people in here. So yeah, we'll just hang on another couple minutes. I'm young. I'm supposed to be really good at this technology stuff, so I have no excuse at this point. If I was in like my 50s or something, I could blame it on technology, but I got nothing to say. But the good thing is I'm better at golf than I am at launching these live videos, apparently, which is good. What's up, Kelly? Hello, I see the comments. At least the good thing about using on my phone is it'll be easier for me to see these, so I can see these pop up. All right. So Kelly and Amanda, if you guys are watching, do you think we should start? And James, do you think we should start at this point, or do you think we should wait just a little bit more? Hey, wee Lonzo. What's going on, man? All right. So yeah, I guess we can get started here. Unless Kelly and Amanda, if you guys are watching and you think we should not get started just yet, you think we should wait, just drop a comment in and let me know. I'll take another 30 seconds or so before we get going. Okay, looks like we can start. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for joining. My name is Jeff Wibben. I'm the founder of Golf Pro Delivered. We're Met Section partners. And if you've been to PGA Hope before, you may have seen me. If not, I'm so glad you joined today. I'm one of the PGA instructors that partakes in PGA Hope, and it is my absolute favorite program. One of the things I do. It is an absolute honor to work with our nation's heroes. As you can see, I got my American flag in the background. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. And we want you to know that, while we are all divided, there's still so many things that connect us. And golf is one of those things. So we want you guys to know that, you're still part of our family. You're part of the PGA Hope family, the PGA family, and the golf family. And we're going to have a little bit of fun today. Now, normally I set up some crazy simulators and do some fun stuff with that. But what I wanted to do was make this as real as possible for you guys, because you're going to be at home, probably don't have great ways to practice. Some of you guys have a fancy simulator or two. I saw that, which is cool. But if you don't, and you just have your everyday household items like what I have today, these are going to be some great drills that you can practice to have some fun and improve your golf games from home. So yeah, the way we're going to do this is we're going to try to keep it somewhere around 25 minutes or so. And you can post comments in here, and I'll see them pop up. And as we're going through things, if you have questions, post a comment, and I'll do my best to get to all of them. If you want, if we don't get to your question, then you can post a comment in the video afterwards. And after the video, I'll stay on and try to answer as many as I can. So the very first thing we should do, guys, is actually get a little active. So I'm just going to move this chair. And we are going to just warm up our bodies just a little bit. So this isn't a golf fitness class or anything like that. We're not going to spend the whole time on that, but I just want to make sure you guys get nice and loose chances are we've all been, you know, sitting at home on a couch for a little while, so I want to make sure you guys are moving. So the very first thing, I'm a big arm circles fan, so we're just going to do that a little bit. And just so you can see from the side, the most important thing that I see about arm circles is that you make sure you get your arms behind your shoulders if you can, because this rear flexion of the shoulder is very important in the golf swing. You know, as you can imagine, my arm gets a little bit behind my shoulders. If I'm stuck too far out here, if I don't have that flexibility, I can't really make that full move. So you see a lot of players that get stuck sort of out here. It's really just because they don't have the shoulder flexibility. So as you're doing these arm circles, there's really no rocket science to it other than don't start out too fast. You want to be nice and slow, nice and big. And then as you continue for about 10 seconds or so, start to get a little faster, go forwards, go backwards. Feel a lot of that flexibility in the shoulder joint. The other thing we really want to do, I'm just going to do 3 stretches. First one was this. Second one is your hamstrings. Why are your hamstrings important? We're not going to run, you know, a mile or something. Well, hamstrings are really important because your hamstrings are the biggest muscles that are connected to your lower back. Now, if you guys have played golf for a long time, or if you've just started out, it's really important to remember to protect your back. This is the most fragile thing that can, you know, can hurt your golf game long term. So by stretching your hamstrings, this muscle that's connected to the lower back, we're going to alleviate all the tension that our legs are pulling on the back from. So just your very basic toe touch, you know, depending on how far you can go down, if you feel a little bit of stretch, that's the goal. Don't feel like you need to touch your toes for this to be a good stretch. Even if for you feel the stretch in your hamstring just by going from here to here, that's good. And just try to go a little bit farther. And then just a quick note, when you're stretching in golf, we want to do what's called dynamic stretching as opposed to static stretching. So static stretching is something you would do if you were going to be post-workout. You know, you were about to go to sleep, or you're trying to wind down your muscles, right? And that's where everything is holding for a long time, 30 to 45 seconds. But when you're warming yourself up, you want to get your blood flowing. You don't want your muscles to fall asleep. So we do dynamic stretches, which are moving, just like the arm circles. So as you do something like a hold hamstring stretch, you don't want to hold for too long. You want to do something like, you know, 3 to 5 seconds, and then you want to pop out slowly. You don't want to jump up too fast, because if you do, before you get nice and loose, you know, you could pull something in the back. So we want to be nice and slow at first. Keep it moving, keep it rhythmic. And you should start to feel your muscles warm up. That'll loosen up the back. And then one more back exercise we're just going to do is, I actually brought my baseball glove. I'm a big baseball player, for those of you who know me. If you're in your garage or wherever you are, chances are it's a hard surface. So if you're going to get down on your knees, you want to protect your knees, you can use like a gardening mat or even just like a yoga mat. I have mine back here. But what you're going to want to do is just get down on your knees in this kind of position. And what we want to do is work on rotating the spine and stretching out the core, isolating from the legs. So this is going to be a really good stretch for the lower and mid spine. And we're just going to try to get back to about 90 degrees and then come back to center. Just do that about 3 times. You know, nothing too fast. You notice I'm not like going majorly, you know, trying to like make a full swing or anything. But we're just going to go nice and slow, do it both ways. And you can see me, I'm rotating fully 90 degrees back. But if you can't do that, don't think that that's, you know, a huge issue. Golf is a very personal game. You just want to do what the best you can do is. So for you, if your best is 45 degrees or even a little bit less, that's okay. Everybody starts somewhere. But the fact that you're doing things like this, you'll see over time that you'll get better and better and better and more flexible. And eventually, heck, you might get back to here. So just a little bit of stretches, guys. And then the last thing, it's not so much a major movement, but I think we all sometimes can forget that we have very small muscles like wrists and ankles that are moving very quickly in the golf swing sometimes, and we can forget to stretch them. So I always just like to do one more quick little thing where I just roll my wrists just like that, and I can even just bend them back a little bit. You've probably seen this before, but this is a really good way to just make sure, you know, if I'm going to be swinging a golf club where the actual club head can move over 100 miles an hour, and my wrists are a small part of that, and we're rotating and we're twisting. If I don't stretch these muscles out before I start, you know, you can actually see people start to get things like arthritis, and, you know, it can be bad for long-term injuries. So I always like to just make sure everything's loose, and I do the same thing with my ankles. If you guys can see, you know, what I like to do is just add a little bit of tension on the side of the ankle. I'm not going to like jump on my ankle or anything, or put 100% of my weight on my ankle, because that could injure my ankle, but just something like, you know, 30-40% of my weight, lean into it, bounce it back and forth, keep it nice and dynamic. And that's really the feel of how you want to do your golf stretches. Now, if you say, hey Jeff, you know, I actually like to do other stretches, you know, maybe you're someone who likes to do some kind of like squat warm up, or you like to do more of overhead raise, or, you know, some kind of stretch like that, that's totally fine. Whatever helps you feel like you're warming up, go with that. But make sure you keep it dynamic. You don't want to get too locked up and stiff doing long holes and things like that. All right, so without further ado, let's get right into some of the drills. So these are not drills that will teach you everything you ever need to know about the game of golf, but they are helpful in specific ways, and I'll explain each one. So the first one, if you guys are going to be following along from home, make sure you have the items that were on the checklist. Things like any old golf club, like sand wedge, a putter. If you have a book, that would be awesome. If you have a laundry basket, any old plastic laundry basket will do. A box of tissues, Post-it notes, a coffee pod, a piece of coffee, or a piece of copy paper. Coffee paper would probably be a little ineffective. Probably tastes good though. And then if you have a yoga mat or some kind of carpet, that would be great. I think the last thing was a wrist. And let me just turn that. Hang on. Sorry, guys. Okay, so let's get started. So my all-time favorite drill, I'm going to start with this. You would think we would have started with toilet paper, but I'm actually not going to start with toilet paper just yet. We're going to start with just a standard club drill. And this is what I like to call a connection drill. And the reason why this is my favorite drill of all time is because it applies for every type of golf swing. And what it does is it helps your arms connect to your body. And the reason why that's important is because it's very easy to swing those independently from each other. And no, I'm not trying to show you guys dance moves. This isn't a dance class, and you should be lucky because I'm not a very good dancer, so it wouldn't get you very far. But as you can see, it can be very easy for me to disconnect and move things in an odd way. So what we do for the connection drill, you're going to take a regular old club just like this, and you're going to put it just below your belly button. So my belly button's here. I'm just going to connect the grip there, or you know, my belt line's right here. You can put it up against your belt, whatever you feel more comfortable with. And then I'm just going to take my normal grip right on the golf club where my arms extend out. That's right, James, that's right, man. Me and you, we're going to audition for America's Got Talent. I'll just follow your lead. I'm sure we'll look good. So once you guys get that connected to your body, you can see that it's nice and down the middle. So the connection drill is a very slow drill. All it's doing is it's about a half swing drill. The goal is to make that full rotation back. That's why we stretched our trunks before. And I want to be able to keep my arms here connected to my body without the club disconnecting. So if I were to take my hands back away without using my whole body, you can see how the club lifts right off the body right away. So if I was just going to swing with only my arms, this club's going to fly around my body, does nothing, and it's just haywire, right? So a really good way to train yourself to use your body with your arms is keep this club connected right there. You're just going to turn back. I'll move back a little bit so you can see me a little bit better. You're just going to turn back. Get to about 9 o'clock on the clock. If you were to imagine this was a big circle around me, and this was a clock, right? So this would be my 9 o'clock, I believe, from where you guys are looking. This would be my 3 o'clock, if you can see that. So I'm really just going to go from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And then the goal for this drill would be just, you know, in practice, is really just swing back nice and slow on the way through. I'm not doing this very quickly. I'm not trying to do this for power. I'm just trying to do this to teach my brain and make my body feel what it's like to swing in good rhythm and what it's like to use everything sequentially together. So try this at home. If for some reason you didn't bring your golf clubs today, and you want to use something like, I actually didn't even plan this, but I just so happen to have one. If you have like a Swiffer or something, you know, you could totally use that too. Just don't smack anybody around you. You know, be nice and careful. I always like to say, if you're not sure if you have enough room, take your golf club and just do a big circle like this, just to make sure you're not going to hit anything, like that box right there. So that's drill number 1. Help you guys be more connected. All right. Let me just double check, see if we have any questions I missed. All right, James, we're gonna dance battle, but looks like you guys have no problem on the golf stuff. You guys are a bunch of pros, so it's probably easy for you. Next up, if any of you guys have played before, you've probably heard of the term slicing the golf ball. So slicing the golf ball is when the golf ball will have a pretty substantial curve away from the golfer. So what that means is, if you can see these 2 alignment sticks right here, if I'm a right-handed golfer, I'm just going to rotate this just a second. Thanks guys for bearing with me. So if I'm a right-handed golfer, that would mean as I hit the ball, I'm going to make the ball have a lot of side spin. It's going to go out that way. Now if I was a left-handed golfer and I hit a slice, that means as I hit it, the ball would spin away from me and go left. Now the problem with this ball flight is it's very, it takes off a lot of distance and it's very difficult to control. So I just want to show you guys real quick what causes a slice. So whenever the club face comes through the impact area, open to the target or open to the swing line, or we'll call it swing path of the club. If that club face comes in open like this, that ball will always slice, or it will be a small fade or something like that. And if you imagine these 2 lines right here are my target line, if I were to come in with a club face that's open to these lines and I come across those lines, I'm going to put that spin on. So the reason why I'm explaining that is because if you look here at my right shoulder, my right elbow area, what typically will cause a slice is when a player gets into this position. If things get too upright this way, or if the club starts to get too much towards, like if you can see where my head is, versus back here, it will typically lead to an over-the-top slice move that cuts across the ball. So with all that explained, we want to try to avoid this. We want to try to get you to swing more down the line of your target, which is why these 2 lines are there. A good way to make sure, if you guys can go ahead and grab your book, I just so happen to grab The Big Miss by Hank Haney. So extra points to you guys out there if you happen to grab a golf book. Jeff, what's a good drill to help improve when golfers slicing? This is it. All right. So I don't know if we just synced up there, but, and by the way, hello, Deborah. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So guys, check this out. How to use a book to fix a slice. And we're not talking about just reading a book to fix a slice. That might help too. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your book in your hands just like this. All right? And if you remember that position I was in before, if you watch my, my top right arm, as I get here, if my book gets too much this way, my right hand, and I let go, my right hand's going to drop that book every single time. So what I want to do is find a way to get my arm more in this position, behind my shoulder and more upright vertical versus this way. So as I take this book back, if I were to be able to hold on to that book, and that book can stay there, my arm is pretty straight up and down, this is a perfect position to come into the ball on plane, down the line, and it will not slice. It's pretty much impossible to slice from coming from in this position. So just to show you the similarities of that again, if I was going to take my golf swing, right, and I get to this position, if my club gets too far this way, sorry Hank, this is a great book, but we're going to drop it. And if my club stays on plane with the book, and I deliver that down to the ball, you notice that the book actually stays with me. So this is a really good drill you can do, you know, wherever you are, whether you're in the office, whether you're home, which we'll probably all be home for quite some time, so get those books out and fix those lices. It's just take your normal golf swing, try to get back to here, and just make sure your book doesn't fall out of your hand. As long as you can do that, you'll be in good shape coming into the ball. So it's a good check. And then for lefties, so we don't discriminate, it's 20-20, it's progressive. We do the same thing on the way back. As long as we can hold the book before it falls over, we're in a good position not to slice the ball. All right, any questions on that one? Thank you, James. All right, let's see. Matt Dillon, trying to get rid of the chicken wing. How can I get extension through the ball? Thanks for coming out for PJ Hope. That's such a good question. So Matt, yeah, it's sort of like a case-by-case thing, but one thing that I will show you guys is a little bit later. Let's just jump right into it now, actually. All right. So if you guys don't know what a chicken wing is, other than something we'd probably all want to eat tonight, we should probably all stop at Paul Glutt's place. I'm sure he's probably having chicken wings tonight, along with all those other cool foods he was talking about the other night on the Hope call. But a chicken wing is when, as you're swinging into the ball, instead of maintaining length in the arms, you can see I have this nice V shape, everything's pretty well extended through the impact zone. Chicken wing is when the arms start to bunch in, especially this lead arm, and you lose that extension and things start to kind of get stuck in here. Now, what can cause that? It's kind of just it's something you can practice without a ball. As long as you have a club, the very first thing I would tell you is, as you're swinging, just really keep an emphasis on getting past the ball in this position. So I think we put a little too much emphasis on making sure this hit happens, which is always a mistake, you know. And I think the more we focus on the hit, the tighter our muscles get. The tighter our muscles get, the more they tend to do this. So even if you watch a baseball player, their goal is to hit that ball. You'll always see a baseball player in this position. And if we change that into golf, you notice that we're in that exact same position I just showed you guys before. So the goal is really to get past the ball. Think about holding that V and going past it. One other thing I like to do to help with this is I noticed that players that do like a sort of like a hip thrust towards the ball will struggle with chicken winging because, and I'll show you what I mean. So if you guys can see my normal golf posture, my hips are away from my hands. I have plenty of room in between. The second my hips come forward and I stand up, I no longer have that room. So everything starts to get a little bunched up, and what ends up happening is, as I swing, if my hips come towards the ball, I get closer to the ball, and the only way I can hit that ball is if my arms come in. So this is why I said it's sort of a case-by-case basis, Matt, but chances are you may be thrusting towards the ball. So the reason why I wanted to bring this chair out, guys, was because a good way to make sure that your hips aren't coming too far forward in the downswing is you're going to put a chair right behind you, just like so. You want to find one that's, you know, around belt height, maybe a bar stool, or if it's too low, you know, if it's like down by your knees, this isn't really going to work. You need something that's around hip height. So you're going to put something just right up against you. Make sure you can feel it. And then as you swing, the goal is to come down and maintain contact with the chair. Now, as you can see, maybe I'll move this a hair up. As you can see, when I maintain contact with the chair, there's a lot of room still between my hands and my legs. So I can keep that extension, no problem. The second I come off that chair, I no longer have that room, and the only way I can hit that ball is if my arms come in just like that. So I always like using that chair. You've probably heard the term, or I guess I shouldn't assume that. If you've heard the term clearing your hips before, people say if you don't clear your hips, you're not going to be able to release the hands properly. You're not going to be able to hit it far or make good contact. So clearing the hips is two parts. One is away from the ball, keeping them back for that space. But it's also making sure that the hips lead the charge, get out in front of the ball, and rotate. So we can actually use the chair two ways. Okay, James, good question. We'll come back to tempo. I'll just finish this real quick. So one thing you guys can work on with clearing hips and creating a better transition into the ball is this chair. And if you imagine like we're playing any other sport like hockey or baseball, anytime you want to take a ball and you want to put your momentum into it and send it somewhere, we always want to go with it. So in golf, the weight transfer is back and then it's through towards the target. Now, if I'm not even thinking about it, like, and I bet you guys would do the same, if I'm trying to send something somewhere, you would probably go back and forward. But what we also see in golf sometimes is people do the opposite. They'll do sort of like a forward back motion. The reason why that's not good is because we want to try to get the club, or we want to try to get our hands out in front of the ball as we make that forward leaning impact. That's going to help us make solid contact, hit the ball before the turf, versus if we fall back, we hit turf before the ball. And if you guys are out there playing on grass, you know that can be pretty tough. So this chair is great for taking your setup. You want to put your foot right up against the base of the chair so that you have maybe 4 to 5 inches away from the back of it. And then we're going to do this very slow. We're going to take the club back, maybe like 3/4 swing. And as we start down, we want to make sure that the hips get out in front just a little bit. And we can get down to the impact area with our hip making nice contact with the chair. If you want, you can give it a little bump, something like that, just to get the feel of what it's like to swing into the onto your left leg. And when you finish, you'll know most of your weight is on your front foot. So the chair really is just a good reminder. And if you don't hit the chair at all, you know your weight's back. So hopefully that was clear based on the video. Okay, let's see. James, back to your question about explain a great technique and importance with tempo and how it affects you on impact. So good. Okay. So the cool thing about James's question is tempo is basically like the holy grail of golf improvement. So what I mean by that is, there's no such thing as perfect technique out there. There's no such thing as perfect golf. Golf is a game that's meant to be played where you make lots of mistakes and you enjoy that learning process. You continue to get better, but it's never a pursuit of perfection. With tempo, and for those of you who don't know what tempo is the rhythm of your swing. So if you were going to count, do like a 1, 2, 3, 4. Tempo is all about that sequence, all about the flow of your golf swing. And the reason why tempo is so important is, if I'm moving nice and smooth, just like we did when we did the connection drill, everything works together, as you can see. And that's where we hit the ball more solid, because the club face has a much better chance of returning to where it started. Now, the second my tempo starts to get out of sequence, and what I mean by that, I'll show you the difference, is very flowy tempo. I'm going to add in a little bit of an odd tempo. Are you ready for this? You'll notice that the arms started to disconnect from the body. This is the most common thing that happens when you try to really crush one. We start to use muscles independently of each other, especially upper body muscles. So, we'll use our arms more, maybe our shoulders more, our wrists more, and you'll see things that look sort of like this, and things start to get fast and out of sync. So, great question, James, but what you really want to do is you can even just get in a mirror, and I like to just count out the tempo and just think, 1, 2, and I'm not going to swing full because I don't have enough room, but just think about that timing and the counting. You can even get a metronome if you're a musician and you want to play like the click, click, and just keep very steady, something like that. So hopefully that helps you guys. Do we have another? Okay, we're going to move forward. All right. Okay, guys, next up, I'll show you guys one more tip to bust a slice. Now, for the guys that are in this chat, this is going to be particularly useful because, and it's going to be good for the ladies too. So ladies, if you're trying to get your guys to do more laundry, this is the tip for you. So what you're going to want to do is line up a laundry basket just like so. And you're going to go ahead and put a ball down. But we're not going to hit it just yet. Or we're not going to hit it today anyway. And the trick is with this is as you swing, you want to make sure, like we said before, you're coming right down the tracks that we have here. We're swinging towards the target. The second you start to swing and we get high like this, like we did with the book, and everything comes over and across, and I swing across that, this laundry basket's going to stop me. That's why we use something inexpensive in plastic, in case we hit it. It also doesn't hurt when you hit it, which is good. So by putting this right next to the ball, I'm giving myself a really good visual of how to train my eye to say, okay, I need to get this club more coming from what we call the inside, you know, behind my body and out. So this is just a really good visual for guiding the club path into the ball the correct way. Nothing too crazy about that. Okay. Any questions on that one? No, I think we're good. Oh, cool, James. Yeah, use like 3,000, like 1, 2,000, or 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Yeah, exactly. That's a good idea. All right, guys. So we are going to get into chipping real quick. And actually, give me 2 seconds because I forgot. I actually have this right there. I'm going to step out of the frame. Don't go. If you need to use the bathroom for any reason, this is the time. I will be right back. Hang on. All right, and we're back. You guys are the most patient crowd on the planet. I love you guys. 1 million extra points for you if that matters. It's kind of like whose line is it anyway, the game where everyone has fun but the points don't matter. I couldn't forget toilet paper. I literally had it in the other room. You know, you win some, you lose some. So the last thing we're going to do with the full swing is use our toilet paper. So today, for the rest of your life, you're going to know the second most important use for toilet paper, which is helping improve your golf game. So this drill is all about how to use lag or load or power in the golf swing, and how to get our hands in front of the ball at impact, sort of like this. Now, why is that important? It's important because if this club head is not in front, if this grip is not in front of the ball at impact, every single time we're going to hit the turf behind the ball first, or we're going to scoop up and we're going to top the ball. We actually want to get everything out in front, and we want to hit down on the ball, but we have to get the handle out in front to do that. So this toilet paper drill, TP exactly is right. What you're going to do is you're going to take your toilet paper, make sure it hasn't been unraveled yet. So you're going to take it and put it right on the club, let it slide down right here. So that's just hanging around. And then what you're going to want to do, this is so silly, I love it. So what you're going to do from here is you're going to take the club back to about 90 degrees, and what you'll notice, I'll do that again in case you missed it, is that once I get to back here, the toilet paper comes back to my hands. So it's showing me what's leading right now. Now the goal of this drill is I want to make sure as I swing and I get down to impact that I keep that toilet paper there until my hands get past the ball. And from here, everything's going to straighten and the toilet paper goes down. Now, if I do this in a way where my club head gets to the ball first before my hands, watch what happens. So the toilet paper's with me, it's hanging out, but I don't hold on to that angle anymore. Before I even get to my impact area, which I'll show you now, redo using this green mat, you'll notice that the toilet paper leaves me before I can get here properly. And that's when you're going to hit the ground before the ball, or you're going to have to bail out, pop up, and you're going to hit ground balls. So to do this correctly, there's a great trainer to get back, 3/4 swing, and just work on getting down here. You're going to keep the hands out in front, and then once you get past impact, you're allowed to let the toilet paper come down. So you probably didn't wake up today thinking that, oh my gosh, I'm going to use the toilet paper today to help my golf game, but here you go. 2020 is an odd year. You know, we just roll with it. So we'll come back to the toilet paper in a second. But for now, we're going to jump into putting. I got a couple quick putting drills for you guys that we're going to do. I just checked the time. Okay. By the way, if anyone needs to go at any point, no problem. But I wanted to give you guys a full show of full swing chipping putting. So I'll try to move a little faster through this. All right. So for putting, what I want you guys to do is grab your... Oh, James has a good question. You demonstrate and explain the importance of having club face closed on takeaway, how to avoid open face on... Great. And Artie, great. Awesome comment. Yeah, Cinco de Mayo. We had a blast. For you guys who are following along, grab a coffee pod. If you know me, I drink organic coffee, the bougie kind that you can get at like Trader Joe's. You know, call me bougie, whatever. I'm sure I'll get weird comments about that later. And then grab a piece of paper. I drew a little red dot on there for the cup, you know, like putting to a golf hole. But you can just have a blank piece of paper. So now, what I want you guys to do is take that piece of paper and just put it like, you know, 6 to 10 feet away from your, call it wherever your home station area is, your tee or whatever you have down. And then I also want you to take your coffee pod and just lay it down there as well. So what you're going to do is we have a couple things for you. The very first thing is using the copy paper. This is all about speed. What I want you guys to try to do is get in the habit of putting the ball to the piece of paper, not coming up short, but always reaching the paper, and you want to try to get the ball to land and stop on the paper itself. So you're going to get up to your putt just like so. This garage actually slopes downward, so you guys will probably do way better than this than I will. But you're just going to hit a nice little putt. Okay. Technically we made it, but it went past. I think because I'm hitting this downhill putt, I'm always going to go past. I think it's impossible for me to stop it, but, you know, so be it. But yeah, you're just going to hit these nice smooth putts. You're going to try to get it to stop. Like I said, I don't think I can get it to stop on a piece of paper. But at least we made the first two. But yeah, this is a great game where you can just practice your distance control. You can even come up with a little point system. So I like to do, if you reach the hole, give yourself 1 point. If it stays on the piece of paper, give yourself 3. And then you do 3 or 5 putts and you try to see how many points you can get and improve or reverse your buddies. Or maybe James, and Kelly and Amanda, we'll do like a little contest sometime. A little putting contest. I know, James, you did one a while back. And then the next thing, guys, is all about direction. So I'm a big aim small, miss small person. So that's why I like the coffee pot, because it's less than half the size of a golf hole. So what I want you guys to do, again, this is about a 6 to 10 foot putt. I want you to line yourselves up to the coffee pot, and our goal is to try to hit that using the same speed control we just did. Now, if you can hit that coffee pot, you're going to make a lot of putts. And the key is, guys, whenever you putt, I'll show you more up close so you can see. The key to really good putting, if you watch any good putter on tour, is they putt on flat ground. Just kidding. That ball's not going to stay. We're not going to worry about it. So the key to any good putter is if you watch their eyes. Where are they looking most of the time? You'll never see a very good putter do this for 20 seconds and then hit a putt, because they have no idea where they're looking. So I always have like the 80-20 rule with putting. So I say if you're going to aim at a certain target, make sure your eyes are on that target for at least 80% of the time when you're putting. Maybe 20% of the time or less is reserved for getting set up, but as soon as you're getting set up, keep your eyes on that target most of the time, because every second you spend looking at the target, your brain is remembering and seeing and feeling in your body how hard to swing the putter, or how large to swing the putter, I guess would be more correct terminology. You know, we don't take the same stroke and speed it up every time, but we just expand the size of the stroke. Maybe it's half the size of our, you know, between our shoulders, or it's the full length of our shoulders, something like that. But try that aim small, miss small technique and the paper. You guys should be putting a lot better. So before we go into chipping, I'm just gonna check, make sure I didn't miss anything. Artie, thank you. You're a short game professional, so you can probably skip those. Just kidding, but you are pretty good. And then James, I'll come back to your question about Clubface after we do chipping. All right, guys. So first thing I'll show you with chipping, one of my favorite drills is sort of like the connection drill where we go like this, which by the way is great for chipping and pitching also. Like I said, it applies for your entire game, but it's going to be a slight variation. So we're going to keep our hands on the club like this, and then we're going to actually grip it about halfway down, keeping the grip just to the left of my hip. So I'll show you from all angles just so you can see. I'm not sure what the easiest view is when you're looking at it. Maybe face on is probably easy. So from here, guys, the goal is going to be, I want to use my big muscles in my body to hit the chip and the pitch shot. The second I take my arms and my hands and I throw them into the club, or throw them into the ball, you'll notice that the grip end of the club actually stops me. It hits my hip. So this is like a reinforcement drill to keep you in a good position with forward leaning into the shot. So if I do it right, when I take this swing back, I should be able to rotate everything through in a way that keeps the club away from my hips. So I have nice space there. So practice that at home. You want to keep this below the waist, you know, nice and small. If you can see, my whole body is rotating into this shot. I'm using everything to hit these pitch and chip shots versus something that would look sort of like this. I'm sure you've probably seen people try to chip it up with their hands, you know. A lot of wrist and a lot of hand motion. You want to take that out, use the big muscles to hit those pitch shots. So that's chipping number one. James, let's see, question. Yeah, good question. We'll come back to those at the end. And then the next one I have for you guys real quick is, if you have your Post-it notes, grab your Post-it notes. I have a little notebook thing here, but one thing you can do when you're chipping is you can put this set of Post-it notes right behind the ball, you know, just about 3 inches behind the ball. The reason why you do this is because you want to make sure that your contact is forward leaning and forward driving versus something that is more of a fallback and fall up. We want to be focusing that weight down and forward. And if you fall back onto the Post-it notes, you're going to catch only Post-it notes on the way through. It's sort of like a reflection of your weight transfer, but if I can keep everything leaning forward onto my front side and I swing forward and through, you get a crazy noise over there. There's stuff there, but I catch ball first and I go right over the Post-it notes. So that's a good drill for you if you're trying to make better contact with the chipping or pitching. And then the last one I have for you guys, this is, we'll make this one the last one of the day, is if anybody has struggled out of the bunker, I want you guys to grab a tissue, and if you're on a carpet or your yoga mat, I want you to take this tissue, I want you to put it down on the mat, lay it nice and flat. All right. Nice and flat, right? And the next thing I want you to do is I want you to, even though we're all at home, I want you guys to take a moment and imagine you're somewhere on the beach in Hawaii. The sun is out. It's 85 degrees and sunny. You got your favorite beverage in your hand. There's music. It's a really nice time. So mentally take yourself there. And then when you're ready, go ahead and grab your sand wedge and come on over to your pretend bunker. So what we're going to do here, guys, is I want to show you guys the importance of using the bounce in the shot. Now, if I were to come through like any normal shot with the face pretty square, you see this leading edge from your angle should look pretty sharp, like I could go straight into the ground and dig, which is exactly what happens in the bunker. This is called the leading edge of the club, and it does dig. Now, right underneath it is this nice flat area, and you can see it's sort of on an angle. I guess that would be a better visual. Yeah, sort of on an angle up. If I rotate it back, it's almost like a little ramp. So when we get into a bunker, we want to make sure we open up the club face almost to the point where the club face is nice and flat. You can see that, which exposes that bounce. It's a lot of ramp there. And we want to swing that into the sand so that I can glide right on through and come on out versus coming in steep with the leading edge digging into the sand. So if I do that onto this tissue, and I can get nice and low, nice wide stance, which is pretty proper for a normal bunker shot. My club face is wide open, as you can see. I get nice and low into the shot. I should be able to swing through and not explode this tissue. Perfect. So my tissue's still intact. I could probably still use it if I wanted to. It didn't even go flying. You get a little burn mark depending on what kind of surface you're hitting off of. I got some rough turf. But if you can swing onto the tissue with the open face, you're not going to explode the tissue into a million pieces. If you come through with the closed club face, watch what happens. This will be good reinforcement. Make sure you have a vacuum at home before you do this. Ready? So I start to get a lot of little pieces that fly around. I cut a huge hole into my tissue. It's barely there anymore, which sort of represents my chances of being in Hawaii right now, I suppose. But that leading edge is sharp. It will destroy anything it touches. Usually it's a lot worse than this. I probably open up the face just a hair. I'll do it one more time just to show you fully. So full leading edge. That thing is just toast. It's now in a few different pieces. So use that tip to help make sure you're coming through with a nice open club face. And visually or mentally, you'll be on Hawaii somewhere fun. And while we're at home, we can improve our bunker games. So, guys, I'll wrap it up for there. I know it went a little bit long. I wanted to thank you so much, especially for your patience today. And thank you guys so much for being a part of PGA Hope. It's an absolute honor to be here with you guys virtually. And when we get back in person, it's an honor there as well. But yeah, now I'm going to stay a little bit longer for Q&A. I know I have a couple more to answer here in the chat. And then, like I said before, if we can't get to all of them here in the chat, you can always come back and post comments. So if you're like, hey, Jeff, that thing you said about the chair or the bunker made absolutely no sense. Can you please re-explain that? I'm going to be going back through tonight, and I'll be able to help answer any individual questions. You guys can ask me anytime, or you can DM me on my social media pages anytime as well, guys. I'm a resource and a guide for you, and I'm here for you. We're all here for each other. So let me jump right into the questions. Let's see. James's question, I'll start with that one. And then Josh, I'll jump in with you. Can you demonstrate down the line view of a good putting stance? Oh, good question there. Okay. All right, guys, down the line. If you don't know what down the line means, down the line is the way you guys have been looking at me the whole time, which is literally looking down the target line. So if I'm aiming for the American flag, which I never would, I definitely would not do that. That's my target line. So down the line view is right here. And what James was showing was there's a lot of different ways you could stand when you putt. You know, I've seen people stand like this, seen people stand like this. So what's like the sort of right way? There's really not a right way per se, but you want to make sure you're in a pretty similar posture to your normal golf swing. And then from here, you want to make sure you have plenty of room between your hands and your legs. You don't want to be like right on it. You won't have room to swing. But then the most important thing about the setup is that you get your eyes over the ball. And when I say over the ball, I mean literally, if a ball could fall from my putter, or could fall from my eyes, it would land on my putter. And I'll show you this real quick. You can even do this, it's like the eyeball test, right? So I line up to this ball, and as I'm ready to hit it, this would be a pretty normal putt stance for me. If I drop this right in between my eyes, it should hit the ball. That's a good way just to make sure that you're training your eyes to see straight and to set up right over it. So hopefully that helps. Okay, so Josh, let me jump into your question. Let's see. Where'd that go? Oh, have you ever had to fight an alligator on the green that tried to steal your ball? I wouldn't even call it a fight because that alligator stood absolutely no chance. I mean, look at me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a skinny twig. I would definitely not take that alligator on. I would run 2 seconds. Okay, let me just see. James has a question. Is there one more? Okay, Tom is on here. Do you have any suggestion on grip pressure during putting? Left hand versus right hand. That's a really good question. When you talk about things like grip pressure, there's really it's one of those topics where there's not one golden answer like, what's 2 + 2? Okay, it's 4. Easy answer, we move on. Grip pressure is all about feel, and whether it's putting, chipping, or full swing, the sort of like the golden rule is whatever type of shot you're trying to hit, and when I say what type of shot, I mean like how far or how intense of a shot is it, you want to try to match the grip pressure to that shot's intensity. So if you're going to hit your farthest shot like a drive, and you're trying to really pound one, you're going to need a little bit more grip pressure. But if you're going to do something more softly, like a really short 3 or 4 foot putt, this is going to be your lightest grip pressure out there from a general sense. Now, when you start to talk about grip pressure between the hands, like, okay, I'm going to go, let's say, 8 out of 10 pressure on my left and 2 out of 10 on my right, it's sort of like, it's one of those things that it's always better to look at per player. I would say if you are going to think about that, you want to make sure your lead hand is the more dominant of the two. If you're not going to be if you don't like putting where they're exactly the same, always make sure the lead is your guide, is the stronger of the two hands. Maybe a little bit more pressure on the front, because the second that your trail hand right here becomes stronger than this hand, you start to see a flip. The hand will pass underneath. We want to try to maintain this posture, and the best way to maintain it is by keeping a dominant lead hand. So if you're experimenting with that, whatever preference you have is probably fine. Match the intensity to the size of the shot, and then the golden rule too is make sure that lead hand is the more dominant of the two. In chipping as well. Yeah, that's a really, really good advanced question there from Tom. Thanks for asking that one. Let's see, any other questions? James has a pinned question. Can you demonstrate and explain the importance of having club face close on takeaway and how to avoid open face on impact? Okay, club face close on takeaway. And okay. So James asked a really interesting question, which just, if you're not sure what the question means, I'll show you visually right now. So you can see down my target line, hopefully this lines up. I had to move the camera before, but what he's saying is, as I take the club back, you can see that this is called a toe up position, or where the club itself is straight up and down. So what James is asking is, talk about the importance of the club face being closed on the way back, which would be more of this position, which some people feel is correct. Some people feel like it helps people be more more square at impact, which is James's second part of the question. But this is honestly really more of a preference thing, guys, to be honest. It's not something that's a golden rule. And always ask yourself, if someone gets really hung up on what to do in your backswing, just ask them, do you hit the ball on your backswing? The answer is obviously no. And every player does something different with the club on the way down. So for example, if I'm a player that has a lot of wrist release, and if you look at my wrists, you can see that they're turning over in the golf swing, if I'm a player that does that a lot naturally, and I go with something like a closed face, then I'm going to close it even more on the way through, and I'm going to miss way left. But if I'm a player that tends to just have more of a hang-on type of shot, I can take the club back in a position that has a very strong and closed club face, because I'm not going to turn it that much. I'm just going to sort of hold on to it. So there's really not one particular way you have to be back here. I see a lot of players think that they need to be in this like toe up, perfect straight up and down position, but it's really not an ultimate determiner of where your ball's going to go. So it's sort of a case by case thing. I would focus way more on your tempo at the top and how you're delivering the club. You know, from here, I would say from here to here is more important than anything else. I would focus more on that. But that's an excellent question, James. People talk about that a lot, so I'm glad you asked that. Let's see, any other questions that I missed? I'm going to go way back through the archives. I think that might be it. But yeah, guys, I guess we can cap it off there. I'm going to just leave another, 5 or 10 minutes of talking, or 5 or 10 seconds of talking. So post a comment if you want. But thank you guys so much for joining me. I always have a blast hanging with you guys. I can feel the love virtually. So thank you guys for chatting and posting and talking about alligators, all the things. Just know that, on behalf of me and GPD and the PGA, we love you guys. We so look forward to giving you guys a hug and saying hello and seeing you in person. So God bless you guys. Be safe, be well, and we can't wait to see you. So take care, everybody. God bless you. God bless America, and take care.